some of the things that you've learned from doing your personal brand journey with us.
I would say that I'm a kind of a person who is a little bit easygoing. I love the soft life. And then you taught me something. It changed me to become proactive rather than reactive. I've always got my clients by word of mouth, through training centers, through social media, but I was never the person who approaches. And now I'm doing the whole thing from a different point of view. Another thing is to find your main values and to align your business to it, not only your life, not only your personal life. So I made sure that my personal brand is aligned to my values.
Welcome to the Kelly Lundberg podcast, Israa. It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much.
We've been working together now for 10 months, I think it is.
Yes.
And it's so nice to be able to see when we had our first call, because you're one of the Brand You Creators clients, to where you are now. Why don't you tell everyone what it is that you do? Because I was super excited to work with you because I hadn't worked with someone in your industry yet.
Yes, it is a niche industry. It's a niche market. So I'm an etiquette and protocol expert. I'm a trainer, consultant, and a coach. What I do is that I work with individuals, corporates, organizations, royal households to basically train them to get a better presence wherever they go. Yeah. In a sense that I do train people to be at their best selves and interact with others, whether it's professional or social life, with courtesy and, let's say, class.
Yeah. You have a quote that we put on your website, which I love. Do you want to share that? You speak 3 languages, isn't it?
I do speak 3 languages. Yeah. I speak Arabic, English, and etiquette.
I love that part. So I was really excited because I think the whole etiquette, living in this part of the world, etiquette and protocol, you mentioned royal households in terms of how do they present themselves and how do you communicate? It's a big deal.
It is actually, because in this part of the world, we care a lot about others, what others think of us, and how do we make them feel. So it all goes back to your behavior and your words, what kind of effect it has on people. That's why it is a niche market when it comes to training, but the idea of etiquette is there in our culture.
Yeah. So tell me, how does one get into etiquette and protocol? Like, how did you know that this was something that you wanted to do? How did you find your passion?
It all goes back to a book that I had in my library at home. I didn't know that I'm gonna become this. I decided to enter the training field 9 years ago, and I got an advice. Someone asked me to find a niche market, and I went to Google. I Googled a lot. I didn't find anything that sparked joy in me. So I went to my library. I thought that the books there are the books that I love reading, the books that you keep. And I found a book that its title was The Etiquette Book. And I remember that I read it all. I went back to it. I went through it quickly. And I'm like, do they train this? Does someone teach this? I Googled again. And apparently there are schools in Europe and the States, but none in the Middle East. So I explored it and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, so you went to, was it not Switzerland you went to?
I went to London and Brussels.
Okay.
For different courses on etiquette and protocol. Yeah. And at the same time, I linked it to the Arabic culture or the Middle Eastern culture, because etiquette is affected by culture. So does protocol somehow. Yeah. So other than the international protocol standards, we have protocol that is related to each and every country. And etiquette and protocol are very different. So the more common idea or word or vocab is etiquette, but protocol is like the diplomatic etiquette, let's call it.
See, learning. What made you decide to go, do you know what, I want to work with an expert? Because you'd been in business already.
Yes.
You were already generating
9 years of training. I've been doing great. However, what's interesting is that I know that I need an expert because I'm an expert myself. So people can go and read books on etiquette, but they need an expert to walk them through things and teach them the right stuff. So when I thought about needing a brand, it was 4 years ago. I started thinking about having a website, a logo, and I explored the market. I figured out that I need to work with multiple people. And how I'm going to convey my message to multiple people or multiple experts, I didn't like the idea, so I pulled back. I ignored the whole branding thing. And I've been following you on Instagram for a couple of years. Yeah. What I want to say is that you don't need an expert for personal branding. You need an expert who is aligned with your values, who understands what you do and appreciates it. So I might have met a personal branding expert who didn't even like the idea of etiquette and protocol. What kind of a brand are we going to create from here?
Yeah.
And I knew that I already had a brand before we met. I do have a brand. And the main point that I kept going back to when I entered the etiquette and protocol field is that I want people to think about me the first thing when they say etiquette or protocol. So this is where it all started 9 years ago. And I reached there. When they say we need an etiquette and protocol expert here or in the Gulf region, my name pops up. I wouldn't say the first, but at least in the top 3.
Yeah.
The personal brand is there. No logo, no color palette, no website. My social media presence is all over the place. So I needed someone to understand what I do. And I remember that I attended one of your online sessions with everyone else.
Yeah.
And then we did the one-on-one.
Yeah.
Call to enter the whole brand new creators. And I told you, let me think about it. I slept on it for a couple of months. And then I popped up in one of your master classes.
Yeah.
And I went to that master class to tell you that I'm going to be your client. I wanted to meet you in person. So I already made my mind. I know that I'm going to sign up with you. I'm going to be one of your clients. But I went to see you in person. And I remember I told you, by the way, I'm going to be your next client.
You know, someone else signed up in that masterclass
Really?
as well. Yeah. There was a really nice energy in it.
It is. I enjoyed it. I love meeting people who wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
We all know what we want, but we don't know how to get there. And that's why you need an expert.
I love that. I love that. So some of the things that you've learned from doing your personal brand journey with us.
A lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's like in the last 10 months or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm a kind of a person who is a little bit easygoing. I love the soft life. And then you taught me something. Maybe it's not related to the brand. It changed me to become proactive rather than reactive. So that was an eye-opening. That's one thing. So I've always got my clients by word of mouth, through training centers, through social media, but I was never the person who approaches. And now I'm doing the whole thing from a different point of view. That's one thing. Another thing is to find your main values and to align your business to it, not only your life, not only your personal life. So I made sure that my personal brand is aligned to my values. And so I have so many learnings, basically. I always say, I don't believe in the quote or the advice that say, be yourself. I'm totally against being yourself. I'm with being your best self. However, through personal branding, I opened my eyes on something else, which is be true to yourself. So be true to yourself in a sense that I remember doing the photo shooting. So we did the whole thing. We did the shopping. We did the photo shooting, everything. So when it came to the photo shooting, I was talking to a couple of people and they're like, yeah, you'll go do your makeup, hair, nails. And then I'm like, yeah, I do my basic manicure. I never wear nail polish, for example. And one lady was like, yeah, but for your photo shoot, you need to. And I said, why do I want to show photos of myself on the website that do not resonate with me? So when you see my website, it's one thing. And then when you attend a session or a masterclass with me, I'm a different person. So even in the teeny tiny details, that's personal brand. People do know me by now by teeny tiny behaviors or habits, especially that we have followers online. So they feel that they know you very well. So when they meet you in person, if you're not true to yourself, they will meet a different person. That's the third thing that I actually learned through personal branding. I
love that. And I think on that sort of proactive, reactive approach, one of the social media platforms that you've taken on is LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I was very excited when not only working in your niche, because I love the idea of this niche and I think that there's a huge gap in it. But I saw the potential for you on LinkedIn going, we need to really explore this. And I love your story and what happened when you finally embraced it. Because there was a bit of resistance there. Would that be fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. I do have high resistance to things, to change, to new ideas. And you've been through this with me. Like, it has been a journey. People would think that it's easy going. No, it's not. Like, someone needs to talk ideas into you.
Yeah. So then there was the strategy for LinkedIn. We got it down there. And I remember we had our session and you said, I'm going to go and do it. And You did?
I did. And some posts went viral. I got new clients through it. And, the whole LinkedIn thing was the door that I needed to get one-on-one clients, because I'm a kind of a person who has been doing training and consultancy with companies a lot, governmental entities, as I said, royal household, but all of that comes in groups. I stayed away from one-on-one for so long.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn was the door. I started getting inquiries. And remember, every inquiry I get, I would screenshot it and send it to you.
You're like, I've had this from LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Look, this came from my LinkedIn post.
Totally. And people wouldn't think, like, everyone thinks about LinkedIn as a place where you look for a job. I'm a kind of a person who doesn't look for a job. I don't know how to look for a job, basically. You know, I didn't do that for the last 10 years. So no, LinkedIn is for your exposure, for your social media presence, for your personal branding. And yeah, it is a huge door, actually. And it's still booming, by the way. I still get different messages from people who are interested and curious in the whole industry that I'm in.
You really break down the message. That is what I love. Like, let's take one of your viral posts and we'll put up the content around it. So the one I'm maybe thinking of that went viral on LinkedIn was the way that
the one with the
sitting,
sitting position.
Yeah, maybe if you explain it, we'll put the picture
posture,
up there.
Yes.
So what made you share that piece of content?
What made me share it is one thing is culture. So etiquette is affected by culture, by all means. So from one culture to another, we might have different expected and accepted behavior. But when you look at business, you cannot talk about culture anymore. There's an international culture, especially in this part of the world. So I looked at the scene and I could see different body postures, and it does come from different cultures, but the message, by the end of the day, there's a message that you send through your body posture or body language. I shared it and I linked it to something very personal. So it did ring a bell. Like, it reminded me of how my mom used to tell me all the time while I was growing up how to sit like a girl, and then how to sit like a lady, and how to keep your knees together even if you're crossing your legs. So I linked it to personal story by writing 2 lines only, and it went viral. And of course, the people in the photo were like very well-known public figures.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about linking it to your personal story as well.
And you did that also. Was there not one about on Instagram that went viral? Queen Rania?
Queen Rania, yes. So again, etiquette can be learned through royal families, and it can be learned through the public as well. And for us in this part of the world, Queen Rania is one of the very well-known public figures, and she comes from royal family. She's a queen, and Her Majesty does have her own personal brand. She does have her own style when it comes to outfits, and she does have her own messages that she sends through her body language. And I do post a lot about the messages that we get or the lessons that we can learn through Her Majesty's visits, whether it was with the public, whether it was on official engagements.
What would you be thinking now from the educational perspective? So a lot of the audience that are listening are business owners, and or they're maybe aspiring to get into business, or they're already in business. What would be something that you would say to them that they're listening that they maybe need to consider about etiquette and protocol?
When it comes to etiquette, is more used in business. Protocol depends on how high level the event is or the person you're meeting is. But when it comes to business etiquette, people forget or sometimes ignore the effect of first impression. And first impression goes hand in hand with personal brand. First impression, it really matters because people do take it in a very few seconds. So you make an impression in a few seconds. And people do not put enough effort in how they look like, how they walk, how they sit, how they talk, how they introduce themselves, how they exchange business cards. All of that falls in the few couple of seconds or 1 minute when you meet someone for the first time. And first impression lasts, actually, so it does matter. Another thing I would say is consider the culture of the person in front of you. It's not only about you. We do live in a country where all nationalities live. We live all together in one place. I call it a melting pot. And we're coming up with maybe an international culture that suits everyone. Consider the culture of the person in front of you and respect the culture of the country that you're living in. So even if there is an international business culture, there is a culture for the people that own this country that we live in, the Emirati culture. And we should actually respect it wherever we go.
What would you do? Because I've been guilty in the past. I've made mistakes. What would you do if you've made a mistake? Like, I've seen in the past, sort of, for example, maybe some people have gone to shake the hand of a female and they've put their hand away. A man's perspective, then you feel silly and awkward.
Yeah.
How would you overcome that?
If you don't want to get in that, you do your homework. If you didn't do your homework and you got guilty and you did that mistake, you would apologize for not knowing or missing that part, but do not over-apologize and make a scene out of it. Some people would just ignore it. Some people would apologize, but do not make a scene out of it.
Yeah.
So if people didn't notice, no need to grab their attention to it.
Okay.
Some people, when it comes to like higher level or some people who are very courteous, they would actually send an email, a message, whatever it is, saying that we apologize for the misunderstanding, especially if the mistake was at the level of a whole group or like the whole group who visited, they were wearing something that was not appropriate, for example, or they all messed up when it comes to the handshake. Or, some people would hug and kiss in business, and we don't do that as Arabs. So that is even more embarrassing.
Oh, yeah, been there.
So, yeah.
This is very much my nature. And I was in Saudi. I was hugging goodbye to other people. Yeah, well, I did do that. But it was in a situation that not everyone was culturally. The first people I hugged were it was in that environment. So it was like, oh, thanks so much. It was great to see you. And then I realized I shouldn't do this, but it was nearly like, yes, it was. And it was, but I'm too far in. I was like, okay,
awkward.
Yes, like awkward. So I mean, and I guess it happens, and then it's how do you make light of it and go, okay, sorry, that wasn't right.
You can laugh about it. You can apologize, and if it's your client, there will be like follow-up emails. You can always mention it in a light way that I'm so sorry for the mistake that happened or the misunderstanding, or if I put you in any awkward situation, especially if there is media. Like if there is media coverage and you ended up hugging someone who is a VIP and
it wasn't that, it was fine.
That if there was like official media or even social media, someone taking videos and photos, you don't want that.
Of course.
You don't want it to be recorded, basically.
So what's next for you on the journey? So you've got your brand. It was so this has been 9 years in business. 4 years you've been thinking about this personal brand, you step away. Now you've got this message. You've got your brand identity. You've got your content pillars for social media.
That's right.
The speaking opportunities are coming already.
Yes.
What's next?
What's next? You planted a seed. It will take some time to come to life. I have been considering the idea of writing a book. And yes, I know I have to do it. I want to do it. And I just want to put my thoughts together to decide on the main ideas, like what it's going to be about, whether it's going to be in Arabic or in English, all those, the main lines, the main ideas. And that's one thing. And basically, like more projects, but I'm going to approach different industries. And I want to start by doing something, I would call it like an online course that will be pre-recorded. People can sign up for it. So all of those are ideas that I needed to create a personal brand to be able to get to it. And I think it's what's coming next.
I love it. And I always think it's really important to get people who have gone through the journeys, for those that are listening, going, this is real and it's tangible. You know, there may be sitting where you were 4 years ago, but now this is what happened when you've gone through it. And I think that's a really nice balance to going, it's lovely that I get to interview fabulous people who've already got their personal brand and they've been in business for 10 years, but it's also, what's it like to go through the starts and make the awkward moments and to do all of that?
I think it's more relatable for people who are thinking about it. So I love listening to podcasts with people who have been there for like 20, 30 years. They know it all. But even now, I'm sharing some reels on Instagram about what is happening behind the scenes. You see me delivering projects, but how do I get there? What kind of issues I've faced as a freelancer, as a solopreneur? So sharing all of that, it can be more relatable to people who are in the same field. Maybe I'm ahead by a few years. And honestly, having an expert people would think that the expert will tell you what to do. You never told me what to do. You don't do that. You would highlight some areas that I need to work on. I came in knowing my strengths and weaknesses. I know them all. But you highlighted some areas that I need to work on. You gave me some ideas and you would let me go, sleep on it, think about it, analyze it, and then come back and say, you know what, this works with me, this doesn't. And I would resist some. Maybe you already had a plan, you know where I'm going, but you needed the whole thing to come from my side rather than your side.
I think that's the piece when it's personal brand, though. It's got to come from the client because it's personal.
Totally.
And we can't do it for them.
You can, because they wouldn't be true to themselves if you do it for them. And I do remember like some things that you highlighted in the whole journey. And having like fresh eyes looking at you, what you have been doing for the last 9 years is different. I'm so into the whole journey that I cannot see it from outside. So I've always had like my brother, who has always been there for me, telling me the feedback that I actually need to hear. You know, there is one kind of feedback where people would say, yeah, you're on TV, amazing, I loved what you say. And others would say, your post is great. This is the nice feedback. But there's the other kind of feedback that someone would actually send you a text saying, I wish your last reel, I think that this doesn't resonate. You should have fixed that. And for me, that's my brother for the whole 9 years or maybe more. The other day, he texted me saying, did you try to put your logo on the other side of the reel? I said, you know, I'm left-handed, so I look at things from the... He said, yes, because you're left-handed, it doesn't look okay to right-handed people. Like, we think differently. So those are the honest feedback that you need. But then working with an expert is different. Yeah. I do get an expert advice or feedback, but without pushing me towards one path rather than the other.
I love that. Well, I am so proud. I just said that when you came in there, of everything that you've achieved and will continue to, because you've just solidified so much. And now it's, okay, how can I take this more to the world? And like they say, the cliche, but it's true. The world is your oyster and you've got it all going for you.
Yes, that's right. And how to maintain it and then how to grow from it. That's 2 points that it's not about just having a website and the logo and the strategy and that's it. It doesn't work. Like, yes, we created the whole thing, but it doesn't work by itself.
Yeah. No, that's for our next sessions.
Yes, definitely.
Loved working with you. I wish you every success, Israa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Thank you for having me.